How are we all feeling today? Are we excited? Do we have energy? I can't feel the energy in the room. Do we have energy? Yes, I love that. So we're super happy today. We're going to be speaking about a topic that's usually the elephant in the room most times. I know there's some gentlemen here, but let me speak as a woman. You are at times forced to deal with a lot as a woman, and you have to show up and show out each and every time. So we thought, why not speak about this? Why not bring people who are doing big things or great things in the society to come and share, their 2 cents about this journey. I'm going to invite the lovely ladies who are in the panel to join me at the front, so that we can get started. Clap for them. As we get started, this question is to you, Pinky. When you hear the term, because I think I've seen you throw it out there a lot, live unapologetically. We hear, I'm a personal big believer in that, but most times we just use it loosely. We don't really know what live unapologetically is. So what does it mean to you?
So living unapologetically, to me, means just stepping into your authenticity and not really caring about what other people think or say. And I feel it's very easy. It's easy for me to say this, and you've read it before, maybe in magazines, etc. But until you actually do it, until you actually find your power, then something clicks. That's when you understand, oh, this is me living unapologetically. So I was just telling Faith, just before the panel, that I was having a conversation with my daughter. My daughter's 12, and she's going through issues with friends. And, I wish we were spoken to like this when we were younger, that you need to uphold your boundaries, and you need to protect yourself first. Because if you are in a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable, we've all been there, a wedding that we didn't want to go to because a family member is nasty to us, or, a friend's dinner we didn't want to go to because, one of the friends have bitched about you. But you have to go, you feel obliged, it's the right thing to do. But the right thing for who? Not for you, because you're sitting there feeling miserable and uncomfortable. So that's when I say, just, lean into that, being completely unapologetic about who you are. These are my boundaries. If you don't like it, doesn't matter, because I come first in my life.
As we get to Monicah and Wamuyu, I think I'd want to combine this with, can someone really have their cake and eat it? Can you have, in high school, we used to have those people who are good in everything. I don't know if you had those people in your school. If it's studies, they're number one. If it's athletics, they're number one. People who literally had everything. Is it real in the real world, Monicah? Can you really have your cake and eat it? No.
I believe that you can have it all as long as at the point where you are, you're experiencing life, okay? You're actually living in the moment, and you're not looking toward, I'm not yet there, or I have to get 100, or I have to get... But in this space, today, I have the capacity to do this. I am here. I'm very happy. So today I'm very successful because I love speaking and I'm here. So I'm speaking in the moment. I am here. I'm experiencing it. Number 2, I am giving my best. What we call showing up. Okay? Showing up is not always here. Sometimes you're here. But every day, just show up. I recently started going to the gym, let me say, more frequently. And there are days that, like yesterday, I had such a difficult day emotionally and I wanted to skip. But I said I'll show up. I didn't do my normal 45-minute workout. I did a 20-minute workout, but I was so glad I showed up. Okay? So yes, I am having my cake and eating it because I'm not trying to soar over impossible mountains, yeah? And I'd just like to touch on to something that Pinky said because it was number 1 in my point. So I guess you read my book. It's about authenticity. And I looked up the definition. It said, of undisputed origin, not a copy, genuine and unique. So everyone here has an authentic self within them. So then if you want to win at everything, you've got to show up as you.
So can we have our cake and eat it, yes, with a lot of grace, but also understanding that life has an ebb and a flow. You can't have it all at the same time. Some days you'll be a good mommy. Yeah, you showed up for PTA, you showed up for their basketball game, you showed up, but there are days you'll only make it home in time to kiss them goodnight. And that's enough for that day. That's all you could do. That's a slice of cake you could afford on that day.
How do you prioritize your things that you're passionate about in a place whereby you don't even have time for yourself? I think, Faith, you can start with that.
I really believe start where you are. For example, if you love speaking, be the person who you tell your friends, if there's a ratio, hey. If there's a birthday, hey, I'm happy to speak. If you love things like children's home, be the one to initiate it in your place of work. Isn't it? Be the one to push the CSR agenda. I'd say find a way to live out your purpose in your day job. I know women, there's this lady who told me her passion is just women, and she just has a soft spot for when women are pregnant and when they give birth. They didn't have a mother's room. There was no budget. So she rallied everyone and came up with a list, and they had this store that had never been used, very tiny, and she told guys, we need a carpet, we need this, we need a fridge, and guys brought. You get, and then now when someone is expecting, they'd say, okay, so we have 3 buddies, 4 UI, 3 chemistry, and willingness. So they just say, so do just a date at least. They will take you for a lunch date. So they just have conversations about what their pregnancy was, what their birth was, at least before and after. But when you're there, they should check up on you once a week. And they're 3, so each one has their week. That's how she did it. Does that make sense? If it's photography, be the one taking photos everywhere. Get a good phone before you get a good, and I say 8 to 5 because that's a huge opportunity. And there's rarely a gift, a contribution you have that wouldn't work in the workplace. Does that make sense? And I say, like, our passion is culture, and we get to influence our culture by just being courageous. It could be a simple thing. You love emceeing, say, I'd love to MC this. You love writing, say, for everyone who has a birthday, the guys do at least once a month birthday, say, I'll do a poem. Next to the cake, there's a poem by me. Do you get what I mean? What is it you want to do? But I believe purpose is not the gift.
Nadia, coming from a place of policy making, we know other countries of the world where people have 3 jobs and it's okay. But in Kenya, sadly, most times you'll find your employer will either feel like you can't have a side hustle in the first place. It's usually secrets that are said, like during lunch hour, grapevine. How do you think like the government or policy makers can make a difference in our country? Matters this.
This is something that I tell people. So my experience in policy and government has been 2 years and 10 months. And from the little that I have gotten, policy a lot of times is dictated by people. See, the void or the gap that is there is the attitude that people have in Kenya. And a lot of times I understand we justify the attitude towards we don't see change. We don't see any difference. But sometimes I tell people to take a back step and look at it on a very sober way. If we don't see change and we'll still keep on saying there's no point, we'll get to a point where even that point that we are in, we're not able to bring it up. And so for us to now ignite policies and for us to create a conducive environment where it's more comfortable, where it's more positive, where it's more inclusive, where it's more diverse, it has to start with us. Because if you want to influence a policy and you're not even participating in really igniting that policy, then who's actually influencing it? So it has to be an environment where we teach ourselves. So it's engagement, it's participating, but it's really championing for inclusivity and diversity within the policy spaces to bring out a different face and a different time. That's what I can say.
Okay. How do you deal with things that are beyond your control? Like, for example, you lose a job and this job meant the world to you. I'm looking at you, Wamuyu, because I'd want you to answer. This job probably was your defining factor. How do you move past that? I think, honestly, change, in as much as it's the only constant thing, it's the hardest thing to do. So how do you deal with that?
I take it a minute at a time, and then an hour, and then a day and then the day is over. I think people think that getting over tough things is this profound thing. You need to watch a YouTube video and a TED Talk. Sorry, no offense. A TED Talk and all of these things. But unfortunately, one of the things about being an adult is you have to deal with a lot of change, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. Positive in that it could be you haven't lost the job, but you've gotten the job of your dreams. Or a job for the life of you would never have thought you would get. Like for me, this role that I have, never in a million years would I have thought that I would have been the MD for East Africa. So the day I was confirmed, I remember it was a Sunday, I was in my friend's house. I don't know why I was being confirmed for a job on a Sunday. But it happened, and you start immediately panicking. All the things that you think you're not capable of, all the things, oh my God, why did I say yes, I'll fail? All my people at home will know, they will laugh at me, all the teachers were right. Oh my God, who do I think I am? And then I was like, you know what, let's just go for one day. Yeah, we just go for one day and then we see how it's gonna go. And then you get through that day, you're like, okay, I didn't die. The second day, I go, my team didn't eat me. I have a pretty cool team. And then before you know it, a year is gone. Yeah, so it's in small incremental steps. And I think it's the same way when you're going through a tough time.
I think what I have learned, or what I'm learning, is fuck it. Honestly, that word is taking me a day at a time. And the reason I'm saying that is because, there are some who lose their jobs behind closed doors. There are some you have to think about the 40 people. Then there are some of us who were in charge of 35 million people, and we lose a job the same way we got it, in public. So on one side, you have people constantly calling me and telling me, I hope you've lobbied, I hope you've done this, I hope you've done that. Oh my God, you're so good, you're this and that. Then you have family. This is the time that you need to now get married, You've actually put, career, you put your whole life in these years, and look, contract comes to an end. When you get married, your husband will be there, and if he leaves, your kids will be there with you. There's that. Then you have the people who are around you, the ones you're working with, some of whom are looking at you like, you thought you would stay here for long, but look at you now. And then you have those who you've empowered, and they're looking at you and trying to see what hope are you going to leave behind. And so I lost my mom to cervical cancer 3 months after I got this job. And I can tell you, even the way people treat grief, as you're saying it, I remember the 10 days after we buried her, my aunties again said, you're going to sleep in bed alone. You're not married. And at the same time, the next day after 10 days, I had to show up to work. And so what I've learned is that just block everything and everyone and do what you feel like.
You've mentioned a lot of ladies here are younger. Mm-hmm. Speak a little bit about demystifying work-life balance in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and how you've become better at it over time.
Okay, so I was just listening to Nadia speak as well, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, I remember that being me in my 20s. I remember walking away from Capital FM feeling completely heartbroken because that is who I identified as. I was a presenter, and that's who I was. And I couldn't imagine my life being anything else. And when she was talking about it being a public thing, what happens is you don't see things, it's from a very myopic perspective. You think that there will be nothing else. This was it. But once you realize, and what everybody has said here, is once you sit with the pain and you understand that there has been a loss, and this you can apply to any part of your life where you feel that you had a loss, you are then able to ask yourself who you are and who you want to show up as. So then the job no longer defines you. It no longer defines you. You are that person, and it goes back to role and purpose. You are who you show up as. Who do you want to? What is this taught you, and who do you want to now show up as? How are you going to move forward? I remember when the pandemic happened, my advice to anybody who'd listen to me is to be like water. Flow. So sometimes, there's a big rock that's in a pond, water continues. It doesn't stop and think, oh my God, now what? A tree falls in, the water finds a way. So it's moving away from identifying you as your job, but also thinking into your 20s, into your 30s, into your 40s, and allowing yourself to have a slice of cake at every stage. So in your 30s, maybe you're, in your married life, in your, and again, I'm speaking from my perspective, my personal life. You're married, you're, trying for babies, and that is your focus. And then you allow yourself to come back into, quote unquote, the career world, or the world that you want to make it in. But also, the word that you heard here today was grace. Allowing yourself to have grace in every stage and phase in your life, understanding that where you were in your 20s, you probably won't be in your 30s, and definitely won't be in your 40s. But that doesn't make you any less. It doesn't take anything away from you.
I want to say, live life on your own terms. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't care. No. Sometimes you say, do you, the world will adjust. You think that, no. You have to understand, what do I want? What matters to me? Okay? So when I say live life on your own terms, you define that what she's saying, what do you want to impact your life, out of the roles? Because for me, what I say is my purpose is not to speak at this panel. I say I want to live a life of service and significance. So however that shows up is okay for me. Right now I'm here, maybe I'm working, I'm significant in my daughter's life, I'm her provider. I'm here speaking in a panel, we're sharing ideas. That's significant for me.
Allowing yourself to enjoy, or at least experience where you are right now, especially when you feel there are a lot of challenges, there are a lot of things going on. You've not allowed yourself to just enjoy the present. And the thing about it is, if you don't allow yourself to be present at that time, you're always looking for the negative because you're trying to see inanifinya wapi. But sometimes it's just sitting. If it's a job, I know a lot of guys are here because we are looking to advance our careers, looking for tips on how to do better. But sometimes it just takes sitting with that role and seeing what opportunities are there, enjoying the fact that, for me, I wouldn't lie. My previous job was very, very, very stressful. Yeah, I used to work 12-hour days, 6-hour weeks. And my biggest pain, I want the next job. And then I get to the next job, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm here. What next? How can I be the best? But now, after a while, I realized, Wamuyu, enjoy the fact that when you knock off at 6, you can actually knock off at 6. And enjoy that space for now. It is that period of time.
I feel have gratitude. Really to have an attitude of gratitude and have that habit. One of the things we do as a team is we ask, what are you grateful about today? When we're having our check-ins or a meeting, what are you grateful for? You get to celebrate yourself, you get to celebrate others. With hubby, at times you do it. It can be because we work together. It can be work, babies. Then you realize what someone is grateful for. So I think really, truly being intentional about gratitude and asking people for their experience and seeing what tips you can take. So look around, find what works for you, make life easier. What can you do in your physical life to make it easier, to make it more fulfilling? Emotional life, I think as we've talked about, social life. How do you just make it easier, enjoy yourself, be grateful, and to live the best life now?
So I think I'd say, even as we live here, let's really do a lot of self-awareness check, understand what your weaknesses are, because your strengths push you to a comfort zone. You need to know what your weaknesses are and ways in which you can strengthen those and become better at that. So I think for me, that really stood out today, and I've learned so much. I'm sure if we gave each one of you a chance to say, you have something you've taken home, right? So thank you. I hope you'll have a lovely evening. God bless you, and remember to live, love, and laugh, okay? It's never that serious.